Imagine a world without fruits, vegetables, or even coffee. Too grim? Well, that's a world without pollinators. These tiny creatures, including bees and butterflies, play an indispensable role in our ecosystem and our food production. They're nature's little workers, transferring pollen from one flower to another, enabling plants to produce the fruits and seeds we so relish. Pollinators are responsible for 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat. Yes, you heard it right. 1/3 of our food comes courtesy of these hard-working critters. They help grow our apples, our almonds, our berries, and yes, even our morning cup of joe. But it's not just about our plates. Pollinators also play a crucial role in maintaining biodiversity. They help flowering plants reproduce, creating food for other wildlife like birds and mammals. In essence, they're the backbone of the ecosystem, supporting the life cycle of countless species. However, these tireless workers are in trouble. Their populations are declining at an alarming rate. Habitat loss, pesticide use, climate change, and disease are among the major threats they face. The loss of these creatures could have dire consequences for our food systems and biodiversity. If bees, the most prolific of pollinators, were to disappear, it would be a disaster. It would lead to a dramatic decrease in the yield of crops that rely on pollination. And it's not just our favorite fruits and veggies at risk. It would also affect livestock, as many animals rely on pollinated plants for feed. The ripple effects would be far-reaching, touching every corner of our food system. So what can we do to help? The answer is simple. We create a haven for them right in our backyards. To attract these tiny superheroes, we need to offer them what they love most: nectar and pollen. And that's where the right choice of plants comes into play. Let's dive into the world of flowers and shrubs that are absolute magnets for our buzzing friends. First up is the classic choice for any pollinator-friendly garden, the lavender plant. This fragrant beauty is not just a feast for our senses, but its nectar-rich flowers are irresistible to bees and butterflies. Next, we have the sunflower. With its sunny disposition and pollen-laden center, it's a favorite among pollinators. While we're on the topic of sun-loving plants, let's not forget the marigold. This vibrant flower not only adds a pop of color to your garden, but also serves as a bountiful source of nectar. For those looking to add a touch of the exotic, the butterfly bush is your go-to. As the name suggests, it's particularly attractive to butterflies. And if you're looking for something more compact, consider borage. This humble herb is a bee magnet and has the added benefit of being edible. Switching gears to shrubs, the rhododendron is a springtime favorite for both bees and butterflies. Its large, bell-shaped flowers are a nectar goldmine. And let's not forget about the holly bush, a winter stalwart that provides precious pollen when many other plants are dormant. But here's the thing, while it's great to have these pollinator favorites, it's equally important to have a mix of plants that bloom at different times. This ensures that your garden remains a pollinator haven throughout the year. Lastly, remember to include native plants in your garden. These plants are adapted to your local climate and soil conditions, and are often preferred by native pollinators. So, whether it's the humble marigold, the exotic butterfly bush, or the native wildflowers, every plant adds a unique touch to your garden, making it a buzzing hotspot for pollinators. Remember, the more diverse your garden, the more pollinators it will attract. Now that we have our plant list, let's move on to crafting a garden layout that's a pollinator paradise. The first thing to consider is sun exposure. Most pollinator-friendly plants thrive in full to partial sun, so select a site that gets at least 6 hours of sunlight daily. Next, let's talk about plant spacing. Be generous. Pollinators are more likely to visit large patches of the same plant than single plants scattered here and there. Grouping the same plants together not only makes it easier for pollinators to spot them, but it also reduces their energy expenditure as they don't have to fly as far to find their next meal. Now, onto height and diversity. Variety is the spice of life, and this holds true for your pollinator garden as well. Try to incorporate plants of various heights and blooming periods. This ensures that your garden provides food for different types of pollinators throughout the year. For instance, ground-level plants cater to crawling insects, while taller plants attract flying ones. Don't forget about the resting and nesting spots. Pollinators need places to take shelter from predators and harsh weather. consider adding elements like a pile of rocks, a log, or even a bee house. These features not only add visual interest to your garden, but also serve as perfect hideouts for our tiny friends. Lastly, remember to include a water source. A shallow dish filled with pebbles and water does the trick. The pebbles provide landing spots so the pollinators won't drown. Designing a garden is a creative process, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Feel free to experiment and see what works best for your space. The most important thing is to create a garden that supports the local pollinator population and brings you joy. With these tips, you're well on your way to designing a garden that's a favorite amongst pollinators. A beautiful garden demands care and attention, and a pollinator-friendly garden is no different. For such a garden to thrive, it's not just about planting the right flowers and creating a suitable environment, but also about how you maintain it. First and foremost, avoid using synthetic pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers. These chemicals can be harmful to pollinators. Instead, opt for organic and natural alternatives. Composting is a great way to enrich your soil naturally. You can use kitchen scraps, grass clippings, and dried leaves to create a nutrient-rich compost. It's like preparing a gourmet meal for your plants. Watering your garden is essential, but remember, timing is everything. It's best to water early in the morning or late in the evening when temperatures are cooler. This helps reduce water evaporation and allows plants to absorb the maximum moisture. Pruning is like a haircut for your plants. It helps them stay healthy and look their best. But don't overdo it. Prune sparingly to allow your plants to provide maximum nectar and pollen. Creating a shelter for pollinators can also be part of your maintenance routine. A simple pile of logs or a patch of bare sandy soil can provide a nesting site for bees. Remember, every season will bring different maintenance tasks. In spring, prepare your garden beds and plant your flowers. Come summer, it's all about watering and dealing with weeds. In the fall, clean up fallen leaves and start composting for the next year. Lastly, keep an eye out for any diseases or pests. Remember, a healthy garden is less likely to have pest issues. So the key is to focus on creating a vibrant, healthy environment for your plants and pollinators. To sum it up, maintaining a pollinator-friendly garden involves organic practices, proper watering and pruning, providing shelter for pollinators, seasonal care, and vigilance against diseases and pests. It may seem like a lot of work, but the rewards are worth it. Healthy practices ensure a healthy garden, and in turn, a healthy pollinator population. Don't just take our word for it. Check out these amazing transformation stories from novice to pollinator-friendly gardeners. First up, meet Jane from Vermont. She swapped her manicured lawn for a wildflower meadow, and now her garden is buzzing with bees and butterflies. She shares her joy of seeing new species of pollinators each year. Then, there's John from California, who created a butterfly oasis right in his backyard with native plants. He recounts the joy of watching the monarch butterflies lay eggs and the caterpillars transform into butterflies. And let's not forget Sarah from Texas. She turned her urban balcony into a pollinator paradise with potted plants. Despite the limited space, she's delighted to see the variety of pollinators visiting her balcony. These stories bear testament to the fact that anyone, anywhere with any size of garden can create a haven for pollinators. You can be part of this wonderful journey too. All it takes is a little effort and a big heart for our pollinator friends. These stories bear testament to the fact that anyone can create a haven for pollinators. And there you have it, a comprehensive guide to creating your very own pollinator-friendly garden. Let's take a moment to recap. We've covered the importance of pollinators, not just for our gardens, but for our ecosystem and food supply. We dove into the world of plants, exploring a variety of flora that attracts these beneficial creatures. We then ventured into the design realm, discussing how to plan and create an inviting habitat for our buzzing friends. We also shared some invaluable maintenance tips, emphasizing organic practices to keep your garden thriving. Plus, we heard some inspiring success stories, proving that anyone can create a haven for pollinators. Remember, by inviting bees and butterflies into your garden, you're playing a pivotal role in preserving our planet. So what are you waiting for? Start your pollinator-friendly garden today and become a hero for these tiny warriors.